Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I am your host, AJ McCord. I am so excited because this woman has a name that honestly, it gives off superhero. She's making her Olympic debut this summer in Paris 2024, but she has already made a name for herself in wrestling. She did it at the Olympic trials to earn her spot in Paris. She competes in the 76 kilogram class. She is going to try and become the third American woman to win a gold medal in the Olympics. 20 years old, based out of Chicago, Illinois. Kennedy Blades, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you on because as I learn more and more about your story, there is just so much to you, and yet you kind of burst onto the scene this April when you took down Adeline Gray. She is a 6-time world champ. She was a silver medalist in Tokyo, and you beat her to earn your spot on Team USA for Paris 2024. Walk me through for you what that feeling was like.
Yeah, honestly, going into Olympic trials, I was super confident. I know I put in a lot of work and it's always been my dream. But, obviously going into trials, it's everyone's dream, but it's just, only one person can make the spot. So I just trusted my training, trusted God, and then I just let it fly. So then once I won the whole thing, I was still in a little shock because, it's a big deal still, but also I had a small expectation, because I just knew that I earned it. So, yeah, that feeling was just nothing but happiness and a little satisfaction because I was like, wow, like now I can forever call myself an Olympian. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was amazing.
And then to finally, I guess we'll start with your journey in wrestling, because wrestling in and of itself is not necessarily one of those sports. It just made the Olympics in what, 2004, right?
Yeah,
So
very
2004.
recent.
So women's wrestling is very new to the Olympics as a whole, and there's 2 women who have won gold. We'll get into sort of the shoes that you're trying to fill here in wrestling in just a second. But for you, with wrestling only making its Olympic debut in 2004, 20 years old, how did you get into this sport?
Yeah, so me and my sister, we had a lot of energy. First of all, we're only 10 months and 15 days apart, so we're very close in age. But when we were younger, my dad would take us to this gym where he would train this MMA fighter for conditioning, and me and my sister would try to mimic what they were doing on the side. And then he asked, like, "Do you girls want to learn boxing?" So we were like, "Yeah, like why not?" So he taught us, but then my parents just decided we got to put them in like a controlled sport, and it was easy to do a combat since we also had just a bunch of energy and they needed to like burn us out. So they decided to put us in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and we did that for I believe like 2 years, and we were very good. Like right away we trained a lot. We were beating up the boys all the time. We would win. I think there's a national tournament called Naga, and we would win that pretty frequently. So it's pretty cool though, because the like trophies, first of all, it's a belt, but then the other tournament's like a samurai sword. So we have a bunch of those. But so then there were factors to why my parents decided to put us in wrestling, but it was just a pretty easy transition from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to wrestling, and it's an Olympic sport. It was a college sport, so there was stuff like that. So my parents were like, okay, let's throw them in a practice. And we liked it. So we did both for a year, but then they were like, let's just have them pick one. And they told us, like, which one do you guys want to do? And we said wrestling. So I've been wrestling since I was 7. Um, and yeah, so I've just pretty much wrestled most of my life. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot to unpack in there, but I want to start with what was it that you really enjoyed about wrestling? Because I was also a child who was put in sports because I couldn't sit still. My
Hmm.
parents chose gymnastics because I did a lot of flipping, and they were like, okay, let's control this. Let's have
Yeah.
her learn how to do it safely, right? So what was it about? But then like at some point, right, it stops becoming your parents' thing and it becomes your thing.
Yeah.
So for you, when was that moment that wrestling became your thing?
I think honestly, right away, I really loved winning, and we would beat up all the guys, which made it even better because there was like barely any girls. I would say probably the main girls I can really think of is me and my sister, and then Mia Palumbo and Alexa Janiak that were all in Illinois. So we would just only wrestle guys the whole time, and when you beat up a guy, it's just kind of nice. So so I think just that feeling of just winning and but like doing it in like a dominant fashion just really drove me to like, wow, I want to keep doing this. I want to win this tournament next and this tournament. So like throughout my years, I would win boys nationals, and then I won boys state, and so it really put me and my sister on the map, and I think yeah, that's just why I loved it so much. Was just like that feeling of like when you work hard, you get what you deserve. So yeah.
Yeah, you did make some history in 2016 as the first Illinois girl to win an Illinois Kids Wrestling Federation Championship against boys. And I think any woman who has competed against men or boys in their sport, there is this added satisfaction to it. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just because, especially when I was growing up, like in practice, it was pretty hard sometimes to get a partner because guys would be like, oh, she's a girl, she doesn't work hard, whatever. So like you kind of have to prove to them that like, you're here for the same thing because you want to win. Like I mean, that's why we all joined the sport. And so when you finally start to gain that respect and they're like, wow, like she's really good, or like I need to watch out for her, it's like yeah, like I'm here. So just making history and just putting myself on the map, it also inspired more girls to join the sport. And I think just like being able to break those sort of barriers so that there's more opportunities is just super important at the end of the day. So I think that's what like really just set the tone of me winning that specific championship, because then a few years later, Morgan Turner, who's my really good friend, she's like my little sister, she won. So she's the second girl ever to win boys state. And then now last year they just had the first girls IKWF state championship because there's so many girls in the sport. So I was just like, wow, like this is just booming. And it's just awesome that like it went from all the way that where there was barely any girls to now there's their own state tournament. So I think it's an amazing thing to see happening.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about I'm trying to look it up right now because I think that I heard it in an interview that at one point in a wrestling competition. So tell me if you've also heard this, and if you haven't, then we'll just cut this part out of the podcast. But
Yeah.
at one point, was it not the case that at one of the wrestling competitions, women were not given prize money? They were given household goods items like
I feel
vacuums
like
and toasters.
I've heard
and
of that
stuff,
before, which is insane.
right?
Like I remember hearing that before, but I honestly didn't believe it because I was like, "There's no way that's a thing." Like, there's no way.
Oh, there's no, but like it's so you've heard it, I've heard it. I cannot find the article right now, but I will put it in the notes of this episode if we find that pop.
Yeah.
Because that's absolutely, and it was like the year was in the 90s, right? This isn't like in the 50s or like whatever. This was like 90s, early 2000s. So as someone who's grown up in the sport and competed against the men and are about to compete for an Olympic gold medal now, how have you seen this sport grow for women in the game?
Yeah, I think it's amazing, honestly. Like I said, like there was no girls ever wrestling. So I was very fortunate to have my sister by my side throughout the whole ride. But it's just every single time I go into a tournament, a girls tournament, it's insane for me to see like, little girls wrestling and all these cute little things like pink and purple shoes and like bows in their hair and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. And it almost makes it more fun, when you have, girls wrestling each other and just all trying to win, but then at the end of the day you see them like smiling together on the podium because, everyone worked hard to get where they are. So I think especially going from it being, because it's crazy, because if you think about it, wrestling is the oldest Olympic sport, but girls wrestling is very, very new. And it's only, I mean, I was born 2003, so only, a year after I was born, which is still fairly new. Um, so just seeing that, like, the generation before me, like, really broke those barriers to try to push these opportunities for my generation now, to where now we're trying to push the opportunities for the next generation. And so it's an amazing to see how much of a ripple effect it's happening throughout the years. And so I can't imagine, like, in another generation or two generations, it's going to be like, hopefully we're really recognized, because we I feel like we all put in the same hard work, make the same sacrifices. It's just a matter of time where people can really see, like, oh wow, women's wrestling is it's booming right now. Like, let me watch this. So yeah, it's really cool.
So I want to talk about the dynamic between you and your sister, because that is something that is so special, to have grown up in a man's sport, but with a sister by your side. So first, tell us her name, a little bit about her, and then how did that relationship, that friendship with your sister, really push you to become the wrestler you are today?
Yeah, my sister, her name is Karina Blades, and she has won multiple national titles. She's won Fargo. She's been on multiple world teams. We were finally on a world team together at Junior Worlds, and that's the year I won it, and then she took bronze. So it was really cool to bring back world medals to our parents and the family. Um, she recently got surgery, so that's why she wasn't at the Olympic trials this year. But 2028, we're praying that we both can make that team, because I'm not sure if it's really been done with sisters for Team USA. So that's gonna be really cool. Like, that'll be more history. But yeah, she's just been by my side, like I said, pretty much my whole life. And it's great to just have someone to even drill with, when you go home to practice, that certain move that you didn't get, or when you're cutting weight, like, you're both cutting weight together, or you guys both have to diet together. So it makes it easier when you have someone by your side, or like you have a team behind you. And so she's been really supportive with, this whole process in my Olympic journey, because it can get pretty hectic sometimes with, like, media and, like, expectations and all this stuff. But, like, when you have someone like your sister who can really just mellow you down and remind you that, like, everything's okay and you're still young, and it's just all opportunities that are just, coming your way. So it should be nothing but fun. It's just, it really makes me happy. So, our dynamic is very strong, and, people call us the Blade Sisters, and it's really cool, because, Brutus also uses that signature name to, like, really promote us as very, strong, independent duo. And I think that's just super important to showcase that in the world. So
it's awesome. It is so cool to see two sisters who have had each other's backs from the beginning, going out there, beating the boys, earning your spot on Team USA. LA 2028, we are absolutely manifesting that. It's going to be you too. It's going to be the Blade Sisters. But in the meantime, you have to carry that torch on yourself here in Paris. And you are going to try and be the third American woman to win a gold for Team USA in wrestling. So the first one was Helen Maroulis, right? She did it in 2016. And then Tamara Mensah won it in 2020, which made her the first Black woman to win a wrestling gold. What does it mean to you to carry on that legacy for women, for Black women this year in Paris?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's going to be an incredible moment for sure. And I don't remember the last time, or maybe I'm just, but, an Afro-Latina being on the team, especially bringing home a medal, because I'm half Black and half Latina. So just having those two backgrounds, and, representing the US on that big stage, I think it's just going to be amazing. And like I said, like, seeing all these girls, when I go into these events, some girls that look like me, I'm pretty sure the Afro Latinas, they come to me and they tell me, oh my gosh, you look like me, good luck, this is amazing, like, you're representing us. And it just makes my heart warm, because when I was younger, I didn't really have people like that to look up to. So it's just nice to be a role model to this generation and to all in general. And at the end of the day, I have a lot of different parts that I can represent, because at the end of the day, I just want to represent everyone, whether, young, old, new to the sport, you've been in it for years like me. It's just, you can achieve your dreams no matter what, as long as you set your mind to it. So it's really cool that I can represent these young girls because I'm only 20. Because a lot of these girls, like, they're even high schoolers. I'm like, oh, I'm only like 3 years older than you. Like, it's cool that we can, connect and say, like, we understand each other. And then again, with like Afro Latina background, and then Chicago, and then America, being born here, and then my parents, so it's really cool to be a representation of so many different parts, but we all, come together as one Team USA at the end of the day. So, um, yeah, it's just really cool. And like, I really do want to bring home a gold medal for America, and, for my family, and for all the backgrounds, and for my team, and for my coaches. And because it really does show that not only did I put in the work, but the team behind me helped me as well. So, this is going to be an exciting experience, and I pray that I run with the flag, in the last match. So that's going to be so cool.
Now, the other like aspect of you described so many of the communities that you're bringing to Paris with you. One of the other ones is the tall girlies. Yeah. You're coming in here as one of the tallest wrestlers who is going to be on. So how tall are you? And explain to people who may not understand sort of how your height is out of the norm, if you will, for female wrestlers.
So I'm 5'11", probably a little over 5'11", like 1/4, but we'll just say 5'11". But I am definitely probably the tallest girl in my bracket. Usually the girls are max 5'8", just because girls in general are like 5'5", 5'6", but it's
5'4" represent.
So it's gonna be great. I use my lane to my advantage so much when I wrestle. I think that's like one of my best aspects of me too. Is just because I could step over that leg, or my reach is way past theirs. And so yeah, I saw on YouTube someone made a video, said the tallest girl wrestler in the world. That was just so funny. Or no, the tallest girl wrestler ever. Yeah, like someone made a video like this, and that was so funny because I probably do look super long on TV, but yeah, I am pretty tall. And honestly, hopefully after wrestling, I did ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a runway model. So we'll see where that will take me after wrestling.
I love that. I cannot wait. That is such a fun post-athletic career dream. And there are so many women, especially female athletes, who find their next passion after their sport, right? And I could see it for you.
I think
are you good walking in heels? You're good walking in heels?
I always I'm not a flats girl. I love heels. And people are like, you're so tall, but I'm like, it makes sense with the outfit.
It really, listen, I will wear the sneakers for you. You can wear the heels for me, which, maybe it should be opposite. Like, I should be wanting to make myself taller, but I can't walk in heels. So I'm a J's girl. I'm a sneakers girl, but I have so much respect for the women who can walk in heels, because I feel like I'm going to break an ankle every single time.
That's funny.
How did you get in touch with sort of the fashion side of your personality? Like, how did that start developing?
Well, my mom, she used to watch America's Next Top Model all the time. So I would just, a little girl, just sit there and just watch what she's watching while she's like rubbing my back or whatever. But then I was like, wow, they're very tall, like just like me, very tall, lean. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So then sometimes she would be gone at work. I don't know if she still knows this, but I would go in her closet and I would just pretend I'm like on the runway in her heels, and it was just fun. And because you kind of have to walk a certain way to like represent the clothes, and I just thought like, oh, this is so cute. And then as I got older, I would always be the tallest girl, and I at one point I just did not like my height. I just didn't like it. I was kind of embarrassed because I always had to be in the back of in the pictures, and just everyone would, So I was just like, man. But then every time someone would say, are you a model? Or, oh my gosh, you should be a model one day, I would take that as a huge compliment. So I'm like, wow, like maybe I can be one. So then that's when I started getting confidence, and I was like, you know what, tall girls rock, like at the end of the day, like, not sometimes like like things that are normal, when you're not normal, it makes it, like you stand out a little bit. So that's why I just tried to switch my mind when I was younger, and it made me more confident being tall. So then, and I was like, hopefully maybe after wrestling, because I want to do everything like that I had my mindset to do since I was younger. I want to achieve that before, I get too old, like 60, So gold medal, hopefully runway model, have a beautiful family, get into like the whole business side of the world. So I'm very into business. So, stuff like that. And I just have these small goals, but time will tell, when it's time. So there's no way I can do it right now because I'm so focused on this, wrestling journey first. But then
Yeah,
afterwards,
bringing home
like,
a gold medal.
yeah, of course. So then, yeah, afterwards, maybe it's time to like move on. So we'll see.
I love that. And Kennedy, it's so cool because you touch on something, you're only 20 years old, right? You touch on something yet that is so, it's so pivotal for so many of our childhoods and our youths, right? Is like there's something about particular, I'm sure men experience this too. I grew up a teenage girl and a woman, so I can only speak to that experience, but I feel like so many of us grew up with some sort of insecurity, right? And whether that is society driven or internal or family, like whatever that is, we all grew up with some sort of insecurity. And the moment that we can figure out, like, okay, yes, this makes me different, and that actually is my superpower, becomes one of those moments that you look back on and you're like, whoa, this is when my life had purpose, right? Like this is when I figured out that this is what I want to do, and this is the impact that I want to make on this life. And you figured that out before you're even 20 years old. I mean, what was that? Obviously, you did wrestling, which in and of itself is a unique sport. We talked about how it just made its Olympic debut 20 years ago. So it's relatively new for women to compete in wrestling. And then you're embracing this aspect of yourself that was a point of insecurity and being tall. And now you're saying, no, this is actually something I can be a runway model, right? Like, how did you figure that out? What was the support system behind you and the internal dialogues that you had that you were able to overcome those things?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think just, you know, kind of reflecting on what, like, oh, sorry. Kind of reflecting on maybe the goals that I want at the end of the day. I think just, like, yeah, this whole wrestling journey is amazing. It's shaped me in the person I am today, but I'm not just only a wrestler. I love fashion. I love doing social media. I love reading. I like make going out to get matcha, doing my nails, stuff like that. So I think just like reflecting on the fact that you don't have one thing doesn't identify you 100%, and whatever you want to do in life, as long as you work hard, those things will come, and especially if you trust Christ and allow him to guide your life, then everything will be okay. So, yeah, just me realizing that I'm more than just a wrestler, I'm more than just a girl that likes fashion. I'm more than just, certain things. Like I can be all these things and, be the person that I still am. So I think just, yeah, realizing that there's more to life than just the only thing that some people think you identify as. And I learned that when I was younger, probably around maybe 12, 13 years old, when I my parents let me get Instagram when I was 12. So I was like, oh my gosh, what is the internet, whatever. So then I would see these fashion accounts and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like I love the whole Vogue cover. I love how I love how fashion is depicted, as far as, how people on the runway walk and show, it's not just clothes. It's like, it's a whole style. It's a whole look. So I think just like seeing these certain videos and then just reading up on stuff and, allowing my mind to not only be wrestling related, because personally, I can't just think about wrestling 24/7. I'll go crazy because I wrestle so much, and that's such a big part of my life when it comes to strength training, dieting, um, training in the wrestling room in general, stuff like that, interviews, all this stuff, that when I'm able to like derail from wrestling, I really take the time to like, okay, what else do I want to do? Do I want to read a book? Do I want to go get my nails done? Do I want to go take pictures? Stuff like that. So just like finding the things that you love and that you're passionate in, just make sure that you really take time to yourself when life gets pretty crazy. And I'm very grateful for learning that at such a young age, because when you get to a certain level, like how I am at the Olympic level now, I need to still be sane. Like if I just
Yeah.
allowed wrestling to take over everything, then I would, I would probably get burnt out early, and I'm pretty young. I could still do another cycle or 20, 32, stuff like that. So if you just, allow yourself to not get burnt out with stuff that you have fun with, then, life becomes amazing. So yeah.
Well, it's so cool to hear you talk about, because my story was I did get burnt out. Like I was a gymnast. That was my whole identity for the vast majority of from 7 to 16 or whatever it was. Like I did other things in there because my parents were great about making sure that I had other interests. And I had to play piano and had to do some softball. Like I had to do some other things. But for me internally, gymnastics was the end all be all. That was where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the gym. And then I got so burnt out when I was midway through high school. And it was this massive moment where it wasn't just that I was sort of walking away from the sport, but it was what do I do now? Who am I outside of being a gymnast? And it's such a crazy question, because it's one that you have to answer, right? But in the moment you feel so ill-equipped to answer it, because you're like, well, no, I've only ever been a gymnast. But what you're saying is that's not true. I always had other interests. I always enjoyed surfing. I always enjoyed hiking. I always enjoyed telling stories. And now here I am, right? This is the vast majority of my personality, is telling stories, but it wasn't an easy journey to get there. And so I think that reminder that you said of just remember the other things that you turn to is so important when having these sort of critical mass, these massive moments where you say, okay, this massive part of my personality can't be the whole thing. What next?
Yeah, I definitely think that's super important. And even I also for school, for my parents are really honest with school, and I wanted to make sure I did a major that to where I can pursue that after wrestling, because what if one day I get hurt and I can't come back? At least I have something to fall back on once I get my degree. So yeah, just like you said, having something to just turn back to, even when, because you don't want to always leave the question what do I do now? So I think, if anyone's listening, I would definitely consider finding other hobbies outside of your main one, so that you can always enjoy life, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, we are multidimensional.
Exactly.
We can love the sports, we can love fashion, we can love being outside, we can love content, we can love all the things. So I like that. We're going to lean into that today. So I do want to ask you, because we have an expert on the show here, I want to ask you, for those of us who are going to be tuning into wrestling and paying attention to your story, your journey in Paris, give us some signature moves or things we should watch out for, that when we say, oh, Kennedy Blades just did this, what is this for you? What is the signature move that Kennedy Blades has developed in her tall, girly, embracing all of it practice?
I think you guys will probably definitely see a blast double from me, because I just love shooting. And sometimes...
Okay, so wait, pause.
Okay.
You just said blast double and shooting. I thought we were talking about wrestling, not archery. So walk me through, what is a blast double?
Yeah.
And double, why do we call it shooting?
Yeah, so basically when you're offensive and you get to the legs, you take a shot, that's called shooting. And so I'm very offensive.
You're taking a shot at your opponent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you want to take the person down for 2 points. And so I'm so explosive with my shots. Sometimes I fly in the air and I make the other opponent fly in the air, so I get 4 points. And yeah, so you guys will probably see and it's called a blast double, when you got both legs, but you shoot through them so hard, you guys both are basically in the air, and then they fall on their back really hard. Yeah.
Okay, so a blast double is what we can expect to see from Kennedy Blades in Paris.
And then I'm gonna try to wear pink shoes. Rudish just came out with this really bright pink shoes. My favorite color is rose gold, and then second favorite color is soft pink. So I'm a big pink girly. I have rose gold everywhere. Yeah. Anyway.
Although your nails are my color, for the record. Aquamarine. That's my color.
This is a pretty color. I love bright colors during summer. But
Me too.
yeah.
I'm an ocean girly, so I
Oh,
tend to
that's
be
so
I tend to be
yeah.
anywhere within the ocean.
The ocean, that's so pretty. I love, and for like if I would have to like travel anywhere, definitely beachy area because I
There you
just
go.
love the beach. But yeah, so you guys will probably see me with pink wrestling shoes. Definitely my nails done. Like it's just needs to be,
Absolutely.
And then I'm gonna get more blonde in my hair, so yeah, basically blonde
Cute.
girly.
We're gonna
Yeah.
turn the mat. We're gonna turn the mat into the runway.
Yes, for sure.
I love it. Okay, and then the last sort of basic wrestling question is you mentioned the scoring of points. So can you break down the scoring system for us in as basic of terms as you can?
Yeah. So basically, like I said earlier, one shot, which is when you shoot to get to the legs and they hit the floor and you're on top of them, that's 2 points. Sometimes you can defend the shot, so you get behind them and that's 2 points. Now they have to be on the ground for it to be 2 points. Um, Anything from feet to back, so like a blast double, a hip toss is like a judo throw kind of. Those are 4 points. And then I'm gonna try to hit a suplex, which is basically you hold them from the back, and then you literally arch your back and you sweep them on their head, and that's 5 points. So that's pretty. And then if you step out of the circle, because you'll see on the mat there's a giant circle, and you step out, that's 1 point. So yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much the gist of wrestling.
I love it. So my goal before this podcast comes out is I am going to get either some practice videos from you or some stick drawings to explain what each of these moves are. So we can have you talking us through wrestling.
Exactly. Okay,
as we watch you do the double blast and the shots and the suplexes. And
there you go. That's perfect.
Amazing. Okay, so Kennedy, we are going to transition now to our Something to Sip On segment. And so this is in partnership with the Sports Bra, which is a women's sports bar in Portland, Oregon. So the week of your episode, they're going to come out with a signature mocktail for you. What is your go-to drink after a wrestling competition, when you're on that beach someday? What are you reaching for?
Yeah, I like to go for a nice cold Shirley Temple. I know it's pretty basic, but it's always safe. And I like to add like 3 extra strawberries, or not strawberries, sorry, 3 extra cherries, because cherries are just amazing. So how can you not want more?
So
yeah.
I love it. Okay, perfect. All right, so Shirley Temples, I'm with you. I like having a go-to one that everybody's gonna have. They're not gonna mess it up. Like Shirley Temple, lock it in. Yes. Okay, next up, we're gonna go into our powered up question. So this is rapid fire. I want you to answer as quickly as you possibly can. Okay. Okay. And also, for the record, this has never gone quickly. We always get sidetracked. It always turns into a hilarious conversation. So don't have any pressure to actually go quickly. But I like to set the expectations. You know what I'm saying? Okay. First one, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Ben & Jerry's The Tonight Dough. Man, that's so good.
Girl, same. That is my favorite. The Tonight Dough is where it's at.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This episode is not brought to you by The Tonight Dough, but if you want it to be, let me know. Okay, our go-to meal either before or after wrestling.
Before wrestling, always have to get the shrimp Alfredo for protein and carbs. After wrestling, a nice steak. So
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That reminds me, in gymnastics, we always went to the Olive Garden before our meets.
Yeah, exactly. I think
because they were everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna actually order that right after we get off this podcast. Because we have matches tomorrow, so it's perfect.
So we gotta go. Okay, I love it. Okay, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Wait, night owl is like you go to bed late, right? Or
yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely a night owl. It's bad. 12 or 1 p.m. Ooh, that's so bad. But I know.
Oh, girl. Okay. Favorite place that your sport has taken you? You can't say Paris if you want to, even though you're not there.
Honestly though, I didn't wrestle. My sister at Cadet Worlds. It was Budapest, Hungary. So beautiful. Beautiful place.
I love that.
It was so pretty.
If you were not a wrestler, what sport would you want to be an Olympian in?
Definitely volleyball. I played volleyball in
Okay.
middle school, so I was outside, and then my sister was setter, and we were killing it. But
Oh, I bet.
wrestling was our
What
main sport.
about, okay, so what about a beach volleyball duo with the
That'd be
Blades
good.
sisters?
That's a good thought. I will
I'm not
consider
saying,
that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
LA
good.
2028, dual sport
Do-
athletes.
oh wow, that's crazy. But that's possible.
We're throwing it out there. We're throwing it
Yeah.
out there. We'll just see what happens. If
Mhm.
anybody could do it, I fully believe in the Blade sisters, for the record. What is your favorite dessert?
That's good. Maybe I like a good brownie.
Oh,
Well, actually, Brookies though.
same.
Brookies are so good.
Yeah, the brownie cookie combo.
Yep.
And a little
Never
gooey,
beat it.
right?
Yep. Yes.
Little
'cause it
gooey,
just-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's gotta be gooey. What is your dream vacation spot?
I think honestly, just because iconic, Bora Bora. Cause like,
Oh,
why
okay.
not? Might as well go
No
all
reason.
out, you know?
I love it. I love it. Any beach, anywhere I'm in.
Mhm.
Okay, what is the one thing that your parents taught you that has stuck with you?
That's good. I think right when I started to get a steady income, invest in Roth IRA right away.
I
That I
love
think
it.
is important. Yes. So yeah, invest
Investing
early.
early.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that.
Mhm.
So important and not taught to us enough, actually.
Yep. I agree.
Okay, what is you said your sister had an injury when she was coming into trials. What
Mhm.
is the wildest, it doesn't have to be an injury, but like the wildest mishap that has ever happened for you in wrestling? It could be a
Oh,
move gone
yeah,
wrong.
I know.
Oh, you know.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. I had so last year I was at Junior Worlds and we got food poisoning. But I still wrestled because I was like, there's no way I've traveled all the way to Jordan. This is in the Middle East, so it was Jordan. And I brought home a bronze medal. I didn't win, but I was like, at least I have a medal. But
And she
yeah, I was
brought
about
home-
like I was like 6 kilos under. It was crazy. But I brought a
my
medal.
gosh. Oh my
That was
gosh.
insane.
So food poisoning, but she still manages to bring home a medal.
Yeah, thank
That's
God. It was
crazy.
literally him.
Oh my gosh. What is the most weight you've ever had to cut before a competition?
2021 Olympic trials, 16 pounds in 3 weeks. I did it
Oh.
though, like I felt good. I don't know how I did. We just did it very smart. And yeah, 16 pounds in 3 weeks.
Sheesh, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, and then last question is wrestling has a lot of different weight divisions and disciplines. So can you tell me what is your weight division and your weight class and division?
Mhm. My weight class is 76 kilos, but I'm always light. So I really need to focus on eating more actually. So it's kind of it's nice because I can eat before weigh-ins.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I'm not gonna like gaining weight. It's hard. Like it's not easy. Some people think it is, but like when you have to force yourself to eat, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah. And then are there different divisions in terms of like freestyle?
Oh yeah, so there's men's freestyle and men's Greco, and then there's only women's freestyle.
Okay.
And
perfect. So
each
women are-
division has 6 weight classes. So I'm the heaviest weight.
Perfect. Okay. All right, great. And then this is the last segment. The last question is when this podcast, this media platform is called The Powerful, and we're all about highlighting powerful women when they feel they're most powerful. So when do you, Kennedy Blades, feel the most powerful?
I feel maybe this is a little, but I feel most powerful when I get my hand raised because I just won, So I think that's when I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm on top of the world right now. Yeah,
I love it.
I would say that time. Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good time. I hope that hand gets raised in Paris. What are the dates of your competition in Paris?
August 10th and 11th, and then 11th at night is closing ceremony. So I'm literally the last day of the Olympic Games.
Last
It's
day,
crazy.
finishing strong.
Yep, yeah.
Finishing
It's gonna
strong.
be great.
We love to see it. Kennedy, thank you so much for being on the Powerful Podcast. It was such a joy to get to know you, your family, your story. a little bit better. Cannot wait to root you on in Paris and beyond.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you next week on the Powerful Podcast. Thanks for being with us. This is a reminder to check us out every Tuesday, all summer long, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.